calendar management and calendar setup. So this is how we structure an ideal day to become a successful sales professional while also still living the life that we want. Now, the reason why we do this is because do you ever have days where you're not really happy, right? You feel like you're working all the time and you're not really having a life, so you don't feel that happy, or you're not quite sure what to do that day. You feel a bit lost. You're kind of winging it. That's mainly because number one, you got to define what kind of life you want first, and number two, it's a symptomatic issue of you're not having a structured workday. Now, you want as consistency. You want to remove as much variable in your day as much as possible, at least during your work days, meaning that maybe like Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday. Reason why is because variation is typically a killer of success. Okay, not always, but variation is a killer of success because if you're doing this day on Monday, if you're doing this on Tuesday, if you're switching up all the time, then you can't really progress that much because you're kind of going all over the place, right? And so that's why I'm kind of a bit psychotic about it. I like to be as consistent as possible. And now I have a meal plan, but I'll just eat the same stuff like every single day from Monday to Friday. Weekends, I'll just kind of go out and do my stuff. But what I typically like to do is I structure my calendar is in this particular way. So what I do is I integrate my personal calendar into my work calendar. Okay. So left is my work calendar. That's my main one, but also have my personal calendar attached to it. That way, if for some reason, I have stuff going on before or after, sometimes you may have to go like an important appointment in between that you want to have that as well. But typically you don't want to have any of that, right? But before or after, I have this. So how you integrate your personal calendar is if you go to Google Calendar, for example, you go to My Calendars here and you'll see 3 dots next to your name. You click this and you go to Settings and Sharing. If you go here, then you'll see, you can set your time zone, you can name it, all that kind of stuff. And you come to here, share with specific people or groups. You click add people or groups, and then you just type in your personal email and then permissions. You want to make changes and manage sharing because what's going to happen, and you click send, because what's going to happen is while you do this, you can still make changes in your personal calendar. But if you don't do that, you can't. It's just kind of a bit of a headache. And if you check your work email, then you look at this kind of email. Your name has shared calendar with you. Hello, and then writing da-da-da, and then add this to your calendar. A pop-up will pop up here, add, subscribe, something along those lines, and you click accept or yes or confirm, and then you'll be able to have this view. Once you do that, you want to identify what kind of lives do I want, and how do I function best? Am I early morning, early bird person? Am I night owl? Depending on my time zone, what kind of lifestyle do I want? Do I want to work? Do I want a life before, right? One of our friends, Bogdan, he liked to do stuff before work, and then he likes to work late at night until like 3, 4 in the morning. And he lives in Dubai and he sells the US time zone. So that works well for him. Me, for example, I like to just get gym first before work, and then I get work. And then after that, I like to get a life after that. That's what I like to do. So you may be different. So you got to identify the first, maybe put up a Google document while you're doing this, pause this video, Google Doc, what kind of lives do I want, right? Do I want to have family time after? Do I want to have date nights? Whatever. Do I want to have friends? If so, what time, what days of the week, what times of the day? But once you identify this, then this is what's worked for me, right? So I'd sleep until 9 a.m. I wake up, same time every time, and I go straight to the gym. So whether I'll do weightlifting or cardio, I'll do that. And while I'm doing this, I'm listening to sales train. So I'll just plug in, I'll bring my phone and my headphones, and I would make sure I have the sales training platform of whatever sales train I'm going through on my phone, which is why I told you to download the school app on your phone, okay, and have it logged in. Because what happens is while you're doing this, you may not retain 100% of the information while you're at the gym because you're not sitting down and focusing, but you'll still retain something. And something is better than nothing. And if you need to, when you're actually sitting down at your computer, you can go back to the module. Now it hits you twice. So you retain the information even better, right? And so this is what I was doing, immersive period, especially when I was first starting in sales. I was doing this through my entire sales career, but especially in the first starting out, I would listen to this. I would like say it out loud, the questions, the scripts, the objection handling, what I was learning. I would say it out loud as I was like lifting or taking a walk on the treadmill or walking around my town. And I would say out loud the questions as I was walking. It's like, okay, so do you like it? And then people kind of look at me because they're going to their 95. They're like, what the fuck? But I didn't care because who cares? I'm not going to see those people. So that's how I was getting better. Like, that's how I memorized the script faster. You know what I mean? So I do that for about an hour. After that, I went to the pool. Well, now that I moved to Dubai, I did that because vitamin D just helps you health-wise. And it's just male, it helps with your testosterone also. Most males these days have lower testosterone, just biologically speaking, from a statistics standpoint, because they're not out in the sun. They're not eating good food, so on and so forth. And so this is what I learned from health experts and what's helping me. So I go to the pool. I don't sit there all day, every day, but I get sun for about 10, 15 minutes. While I'm doing that, either I'm calling people with like follow-up leads, or I'm listening to sales training. And then after that, I get to shower, get dressed. Takes about like 10, 15 minutes. And then after that, I get to my desk and I confirm calls. How you confirm calls? That's in the sales call confirmation process. I do that real quick. Now, if you live in a different time zone, for example, let's say you live in Europe, Australia, Dubai, and then you're selling to US leads, or vice versa. When you get to your desk at this time, they may not be awake yet, the leads you're talking to. And so, or it'll be too late. What you want to avoid is you just sending them a text or a call when it's like 10 p.m. their time or 4 in the morning their time, because I played that game. I never thought about it for whatever reason. I was in Europe at the time. I was in Budapest, and I was confirming calls, and it was like 6 a.m. their time. Because also you got to consider, if they're in the U.S., are they in Eastern time zone or Pacific time zone? Because like the leads I was confirming, some of the leads are in Pacific time zone. They're like, dude, it's 6 a.m. You know what? Just cancel my call. I was like, ah, shit. So in most CRMs, you can actually schedule texts. So you have that option. So you can just do that. So that's what I did. So I just scheduled these texts. And when you schedule text, don't set it as like 3 p.m. like on the dot or 3:30. What helps is if you put it at like, I would say 3:02 p.m. Because if you put it at 3 p.m., it gives a more the inclination to the person that it's an automated text. But if it's like 3:02, or if you don't have like the nitty-gritty option, you can still put it like 3:15 at least. Now seems more of less of an automated text and more like the person manually typed it out, which increases the chance of them confirming and showing up. So that's what I did. I'll do that real quick, and I hop onto my sales call. Now, here's also how to color code your sales call. Color coding is, as you see, it has different colors. The reason why you want to do that, even though it seems kind of nitty-gritty, kind of minutia, is that if visually, people are more visual, right? So when you see this, you're like, oh, this person confirmed, this person didn't confirm, so I know what to do. And also, when you look at your week's view, right? This is also how you track data. When you look at your week's view, you'll start to see a pattern. Because what you're gonna color code based on if you right-click this, or if you have like this kind of mouse on Apple, you can click Control on your keyboard and then click this, and then you can have these different options. You click this Add Label button, and you can label it whatever you want. For me, how I color code it is this. Meetings and trainings, I do like a flamingo color. Sales call confirmed is dark blue. Sales call yet to confirm, even though I sent them confirmation text, but they haven't confirmed yet. Yellow. Orange is they requested a reschedule, meaning that, hey, something popped up, can we reschedule for tomorrow? Cancel is they just cancel the call. Hey, can you just cancel the call? Hey, yeah, now's a good time, whatever. Outbound is whatever this color is, I guess, was it like light purple? And then I mark it free. If you see here, I mark it as free because, well, depending on the situation, right? But I typically, if you want to block it out, you can actually mark it as busy, depending on your dedicated color follow blocks or not. So dedicated follow blocks, I actually have it busy, so sales calls cannot get booked in. But for example, if there's a hot lead, I know he's just getting the money together, I just want to make sure I don't forget. Then what I do is, in that case, I go first in the CRM, I set a task. Depending on what CRM you use, it's going to look a bit different, but it's the same. You create a task and then be like, follow up. And then let's say it's tomorrow. Then it's going to say it's tomorrow. Let's say at 3 p.m. your time. Create. And that's how you get it. And also in the calendar, I like to double do it because I don't want to forget. And then in the CRM, it gets piled up quite quick. So I also like to have it here. Let's say you're following up with that person here. So I'd be like, Mike Smith. And then there. But what I like to do is, if you're following up, like say, like during your canceled, right? This person canceled and a sales call could be booked in, or you don't know if it's not going to be booked in. I'll mark it free. So here, there you go, outbound and mark it free. Reason for that, you want to make sure it's marked free. Because the reason for that is because if a sales call doesn't get booked in, then you can just call this person so you have this reminder. But if a sales call could be booked in, then you want to have that too, right? So you want to have that option. So, or if they, depending on the time zone, if you want to follow up at this time, then you mark it here. So I wish I could find like a more cleaner way to do it. I just haven't found it. If you have that system, I feel for sure in the community. And then I remember Matt was looking at my calendar one day. He's like, Brian, your calendar looks like an abortion. Because I had like a bunch of those like here. But for me, that works the best from the system I found. So that's what I did. And let's go to the other color codes. So, and closed. So as you go through the day, if you close a sale, then you mark it as green because that's pretty easy, right? Green, money, pretty easy to associate. And then offline activities, I like to mark it graphite, kind of like this, lunch, gym, stuff like that. And deep work, if you're doing whatever deep work, I like to mark it as purple. So whatever color suits you best, just do that. So what I do is, as I'm confirming on my calls, then what I do is, okay, I sent them the pre-meeting material email, mark it as this. If they confirm, first I like to mark it as blue. And then what I do is I go to this event, click edit, and what I do is all caps confirmed. I put that, save. But if you have, for example, if this event doesn't have any guests because it's a dummy one, but if you have a guest, because sales calls do, when you hit save, it'll ask you, do you want to send a notification to changes to the event to the guest? Say don't send, because when you do that, the more notification you give them through email, when you over communicate, they're going to get pissed off and they don't want to show up to the call. So those things you don't. But the reason why we put confirmed on top of the color is because the prospect, when they see it on their calendar, it says confirmed. So I found that it's better buying for them. So this is the process I use. Okay. And so you go through that. I like to put about like 3 or 4. Let's say you want to take 8 calls a day, right? Or 7 calls a day, whatever you want to do. I like to put 4 calls first and then put a follow-up block so a sales call cannot be booked in. And I have a dedicated lunch period. And then I have like 3 or 4 more calls after that. Reason why is because I remember when I was living in Colombia, which is US time zone. And then that's when I had my biggest months. I had my first 24K month. I had my first 36K month. And that was my biggest commission month in Colombia because I was in US time zone. Before that, I was in non-US time zone, talking to USDs. I was in Korea, which is basically like Australian time zone. So I was working from like 3 a.m. to like 12 p.m. And then like Europe, I was working from like 4 p.m. to midnight, so on and so forth. And so that gave me so much leverage. And what I realized was when I was in US time zone, I got so good at getting people to show up and like packing on my calendar. I had an 80 to 90% slot utilization rate. Meaning that if I have 10 slots available, I was getting like maybe like 8 people show up as an example for easy math. And so that comes with a higher quality problem, which is I got everyone to show up basically. But the thing is, I was talking to people nonstop, so I was like stressed out of my fucking mind because I was talking to people all day. It's like, dude, can I please eat? Because I had no block for lunch. So I'm like, dude, I want to fucking eat. But this prospect showed up. I was like, shit. And I talked to that person, and I just get stressed out, and then I would carry the stress to the next sales call, which is not a good look. So I like to put this lunch 50 minutes. You can even put it here, lunch. You know what I mean? And mark it as busy so sales call cannot get booked in. And you want to keep your lunch short. Like, don't have like an hour lunch break unless that's what you truly want to do. You're happy with that and you're okay with the consequences. I'm not here to espouse my goals onto you. But let's say typically I found like 10 to 15 lunches more than enough. Either get a meal prep company or just order Chipotle at the beginning of the day while you're doing this, send to your house. So when you get back from the gym, you have the Chipotle, you go to your fridge, you put it in, and then microwave 2-3 minutes. You want to systematize your work. You want to systematize your day. Same thing every day. Remove decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is when you're like, what should I eat today? What should I do right now? All the dishes. You want to just get rid of that as much as possible. Okay? Which is why if you see my videos, I have the same fucking black shirt in all my videos. That's done purposely. I have like multiple different black shirts. So I just like, okay, black shirt, that's it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be like, should I wear this or should I wear that? You want to save that mental energy for when you're in the sales call. You don't want to waste it on useless shit like, what should I eat today? Okay? All right. Rant over. So follow-ups. You want to hit your activity, upsell, follow-up, pipeline, things like that. And let's say, for example, okay, so after that, after all your sales calls, then clear your inbox. Make sure to do that. Like go through your inbox in your CRM, reply and email everyone. Okay. And then also confirm calls. I also like to confirm calls for like next days. You know what I mean? And admin. What I used to like to do is let's say you have like sales form. You know what I mean? So like end of the sales form, I'll put it like this, bullet point. And then I would hyperlink the sales form over here. Okay. So if you click Command K or Control K, you link the sales form here. That way, when you click on this on your activity in your calendar, you just click this, the hyperlink, the link pops up. You don't have to go look for it. Easy breezy, right? And also the data tracker from the program, right? Fill in your personal KPI tracker. Even though my team had like our own tracker, I still like to use my personal tracker just because our team tracker didn't track a lot of the things I needed to track. And the thing is, most likely you're not going to stay on that offer forever. So what happens if you leave that offer? Well, then all your data is gone. You can try to remember, but it's not accurate. So I did both, even though it takes like maybe like 1 more minute. I still did that. And for me, I've like, if I didn't do it, it would have been a disaster because I wouldn't understand my data. Okay. So you want to do that. After that, what I'll do is I'll do some development time, right? This will be marked like Flamingo. So what I'll typically do, it's kind of dependent on what I'm working on during that period of my sales development, but I'd usually do a sales call review and a debrief. What does that mean? Is you look back at your sales call, your own sales call, and then you break it down. And what I used to do is like, what are 2 things I did well? And what are 2 things I had to improve on? And what's 1 thing I'm going to work on tomorrow? You can make a template. Let's say today, July 1st, done well. And I have a split screen, right? So I have one split screen that the notion of the debrief doc here, and then on my left, I'll have the sales call recording. And I'm looking to this, I'm analyzing my own calls. Because yes, you can have the call analyzed with the coach, but if you have it with like yourself, you realize like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Oh man, I sound disinterested. Like you start to realize your own stuff. You know what I mean? So just from that's so powerful because I don't want you to just be reliant on me or a coach or sales manager. Yes, it helps to speed up your progress, but also you being able to point out your own stuff too. So you can be like, done well. I probed into tangible problem. And on the bullet point, I'll be like, I did like an example of what I did. Like, for example, how's it affecting you? Something like that. And then here, and then improve on, they were making excuses. Improve on, challenge on their excuses better. And here I'll say like, okay, that's the what, but how? What am I going to say? You say like, can I offer a different perspective? And I'll just write out like what I'll say next. And that's what you want, right? And I'll do that. Okay, what's the one thing? Because there's a bunch of different things we're going to work on, but what's the one thing? What's the one thing is whenever they say an excuse, challenge them. And I'll do that with all the calls. And where I learned this is from the dating community, because on a dating community, what you would do is you'd go out to a club or whatever party, and then you meet girls, and then you would analyze your own stuff. It's like, what could I have done better? Huh. Okay, well, what I did well was I did a good job at talking to everyone. What could I have done better? I think I should have smiled because I think I looked too tense. I think that'll help people open up. So like when you do that, I would do that because before I even got into sales, where I learned communication was me going out and just talking to strangers. And so through that, it's like, my body language, I don't think I look confident. Let me just do it this way. And so what that does is, yes, the courses and programs and mentors are great because they speed up your progress. But just by doing this, I'm like, oh, like you can like maximize. You can like put on steroids. It's like, oh, like I see that. Andrew Tate was talking about a video. He said, a lot of people ask me how I'm such a good speaker because we all speak. We all talk from the day we're born. But what I do is people don't analyze their own mistakes. What I do is I look at my own videos, my own podcast clips, whatever. And then I break down, that was good. Okay, that was good. There I stuttered too much. So let me do it this way. So you just keep doing it over. It's like self-analysis. And then you get feedback. And that's what speeds up your progress. So side tangent there, but that's what I'll do. So I'll do a call review / debrief or sales training. After that, this is like more maintenance mode, I suppose. And you'll have different phases in life. You'll have immersive periods, you'll have maintenance periods, and typically you'll have more chill back periods. What those are, immersive periods are when I was in Colombia and I had no life. All I was doing was taking sales calls, like from the sun up, sundown, pretty much. Obviously I was going to gym and stuff like that, but I didn't have a life. All it was sales calls, follow-ups, and sales training development. That's all I was doing. And so during that time, but it's not sustainable. Most of us are not David Goggins. We cannot do that for the rest of our life, typically, because we'll get tired. We feel miserable because we want a life. We want to spend more time with our family, stuff like that. We want to travel. Okay. So it's an immersive period, typically, depending on the person, but you can maybe do that for maybe like a month, maybe 3 months. After that, for most people, I don't recommend it. Again, everyone's a bit different, but that's what I did. And then in Colombia, that's what I did. So I went ham. Then after that, what I did was I did a chill back period. I went back to Korea for about a month. And then there, I was taking maybe like 5 calls a day. And then I was 4 or 5 calls a day. I was making around like 10 grand a month. So I was like kind of chilling out. You know what I mean? And so you can have that because I'm like, you know what? This period, I kind of want to chillax. So it's like cycles, right? Life are seasons. You're not going to have like one season the whole time because you're just going to like hate your life, hate sales, and hate everyone. No bueno. So let's say it's a period where like I kind of want to have a life after that. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not a chill period. It's more like maintenance mode. So after that, I get ready and then I head over to like a date, meeting friends or whatever. And as you can see, even with the date, I'd color code it. She hasn't confirmed. She canceled. She confirmed, right? I wouldn't send her a Google Calendar invite, even though I have the urge to, because that would be kind of contextually doesn't make sense. And then what I'll do about 30 minutes before I go to bed, I would plan tomorrow today. I learned this concept from Sam Evans, and planning tomorrow today is instead of trying to go like wake up today and figure out what you're gonna do, or even come up with a to-do list that day. I found that if you do it the day before, you already know, like it gives you more certainty and conviction because I know exactly what to do tomorrow. This is what I'm gonna do in order to hit my goal. These are the required actions. And when you do that, it's a lot easier. And then you sleep, stuff like that. So this is the calendar management / ideal day structure module. Go implement this and share your learnings and your lessons or your questions in the community. All right, next training.